Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the North Sydney Local Planning Panel. We have both a public meeting and a non-public meeting today, and we will be dealing with a series of development applications. Generally, the parameters of the panel's assessments are matters up to and $30 million, matters that might exceed the development standard by 10%, items that might be contentious, and matters that might have more than 10 objections. We're actually meeting on lands today of the traditional owners, and I'd like to acknowledge that in respect of their ancestors, their spirits past and very much a sincere welcome to country. Can I suggest that anyone that might present today at the panel is respectful of others? Please give people the respect that you might expect, and we'll all get on quite famously. We've each of the panel members that you've got today, and let me say you've got some very experienced panelists assisting with the deliberations, have been to the site individually. They've had the benefit of a briefing from council officers, had the benefit of reading all your submissions, and indeed had a consideration of a fairly detailed report. So please, when you make your submissions, be aware that we've read those submissions, we've considered them, and that might assist you in just being as brief as possible. I'd ask you to restrict your presentations to 3 minutes if that can be done. And please, if someone said something prior to you, don't hesitate to suggest that you just agree with the previous speaker. Can I then introduce the panel? And I'm your chairman today. My name's Gary Shields. I've been a planning consultant and a local government planner for a long period of time. And I've also had a stint in the Land Environment Court. I'm a planner, urban designer and traffic engineer. So I do have an appreciation of the various issues that arise in an application. I'll introduce each of the panel. Jan, could you please just give a brief background of your extensive experience?
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everybody. Jan Morell, and I've been a planner for some 40+ years. That's when you talk about the experience. And I'd just like to say that I've had experience in local, state and private practice. And my last full-time job was Commissioner Land and Environment Court for 14 years. And since that time, all I do is sit on panels, either as chair or as an expert. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jan. Ian Pickles.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Ian Pickles. I've been a town planner for more than 45 years, both in private practice and for local government. I look forward to hearing your presentations today. Thank you.
And Carla, our community rep. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Carla Castellanos, and I have expertise in urban design, but I am in the role of community representative for this local government area. And I will add that I am the junior member of the panel with only 25 years of experience.
Thank you.
Don't brag.
It's nice to be a junior. We've had some minutes of 2 previous meetings. We've considered those and they've been properly signed off by the respective chairs. And without any further ado, I'd like to move to the first item, that we're dealing with today, which is 45 Thomas Street at Niles Point. There is a lot of interest in this particular matter, and we have a number of submitters, but we also have a number of people presenting to us. And the first person I have down here is Robin Birch. Are you there, Robin? I can see you in the top left-hand corner. Thank you. Robin, would you like to present your...
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Robin?
Coming up.
Mute. Is that better?
Yes. Yep, perfect.
Wonderful. I guess that I'm one of the people that are probably most affected by all of this building next to me. It's right outside my back door. And as it, it feels like it's in my face. It's so close to our fence, because some of the drawings that were in the documents that were sent out did suggest that our building, I don't know if you can see that, is this one here. Whereas I sent a thing to McGill today, which actually, I don't know if I can get that on it, shows how our building actually is at the back here. We're very close. Our kitchen's right on the edge there. And then there's sort of an area which has a deck and a table where we eat out there. And then there's the family room, which I'm in, the dining room. We are really affected in that position, that it's right on top of us, and we've got a stairwell out front of us. Now, I have put in a couple of times in my responses that I want to know what sort of glass is going in that, because where the poles are sitting up there outside, they are so high, they can look right through my whole house, through my lounge, into my garage as well. I mean, what sort of glass is going in there? And I can't find an answer to that anywhere. I have suggested a couple of times that, they need to be muted, or they need to be sort of those glass bricks, which don't let anybody look through, but they let them get light and us get light. So that's one of my beefs, I suppose, apart from a few others as well. I guess one of the biggest things for us is the view. I really feel I don't know how to get around this one. I just think that it seems like our view is downgraded. It was called a distant view, but if you just stand out the back there, it's dazzling over there. And on the weekend, the little boats sail around, the sailing, you watch all that, the ferries, everything. But these photographs that are in this thing, they just put it way in the distance on a grey day, and you can't even see how vital it is in our life, from my kitchen, our back deck, and I'm a vegetable gardener. So it's really been a great presence for us. And you talk about it's a view over a side wall. Well, it's a view, and we paid for it in the beginning. And you talk about that, it doesn't fit into the category of an iconic view. But surely Cockatoo Island is iconic. And when you look it up on the thing, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, largest of several islands in Sydney Harbour. I mean, how much more iconic is that? I just sort of feel it's played down to suit the proposal. We had a full view on either side of Cockatoo Island. Now we're down to just a quarter left towards Hunters Hill. And we're supposed to be sharing a view. We've lost Ball's Head, we've lost Berry Bay, which we also get from this back deck. How much are we supposed to give up for a new person who's come in that doesn't pay rates like I do, who hasn't lived here for years, but just is trying to get the biggest space they can? I just feel it's not really fair. I have been prepared to lose some, but I just can't quite understand. If the building had just been 0.5 metres further over in the dining room, the lounge area on that first floor, it would have given us more a share of it, rather than me getting this little quarter and them getting 3/4, or getting the whole view, basically. And then, of course, from their top level, because of the enormous sun that comes in there, they have a blind that goes out. And then I'll have lost the lot. And that'll be out most sunny days, I can assure you. What else did I have here? I'm sorry I sound a bit cross about it all, but I just feel we have been overlooked completely. What was the other one? Well, mainly the lights is a problem. Yeah, I suppose, what's this little one? Sorry, it won't be a moment. Yes, I just sort of feel, well, even those windows that are right there, unless they can have some proper screening on them, they should be stepped back a bit. I know they've been stepped back the other side, but I don't see why I'm going to lose the sun here in the backyard as well in summer on my organic garden. But the other side's been granted that 0.5, but we don't seem to be getting anything here. We're just the ones that are copping the lot. And I just sort of feel it really needs to be reviewed a little bit more. I know the council's saying everything meets with their requirements, but what about the requirements of us who live here? I just find that it's just a little bit out of step. It's at the first floor is the only floor that really affects us badly. So, but
Thank you, Robin.
I think that we need to just look at what the map is of what this building is and how close we are to the fence with our kitchen sitting out there. I think I've measured it just the other day. I'll just give you that we're only 2.9 metres from our back fence. And then if they get another 1.5 metres, it's not very far away from each other where I actually look out the window. Anyhow, thanks for your time, but I do hope you can give some thought to this.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for your
Thank you.
Stephen Garge, are you there? Stephen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, panel. Yeah, my name is Stephen Gouge, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of the owner of number 43 today as well, who I believe is registered but won't be speaking. That's located directly to the south of the proposed development. I intend to cover kind of 4 key items today, and conscious that the panel have a copy of the original submission and the supplementary submission we provided direct to the panel. What we wanted to touch on were the non-compliant rear setbacks, the solar access and overshadowing, landscaping on the common boundary, and a range of other sort of more minor matters. At the outset, what we wanted to say is that there's a recognition that development certainly can occur on the site next door, and that they're fully aware that what is there now is probably less than the controls provide for. As we've set out in the submission, though, the concern for the key aspects of the proposal that do not comply with council's controls. And we just can't see any valid reason as to why that compliance shouldn't be enforced. But also, I guess what we wanted to say is that whilst amendments have been made to the originally submitted proposal and that they may improve an outcome, there can be no inference or reference that those improvements in any way refer to a compliance or a better outcome. The proposal still remains substantially and fundamentally non-compliant, which as a result drives impacts direct to number 43, which we can't see are justified. So in relation to the rear setbacks as the first and key item, fundamentally, we don't believe that the proposal complies. The setback control in the DCP states that it should match those adjoining properties, or if those adjoining properties are not characteristic, it should align with the setbacks that are in the character statement for that area. Without going through all the details, the adjoining building of number 43, the proposal does not match the adjoining property. And in the character provisions for this part of the Thomas Street conservation area, it specifies that building should be forward on lots with larger rear yards and to provide a consistent setback. And what I'd like to refer to, I won't bring it up, but there's an image that we provided in the submission that identifies the consistency of setbacks with the exception of one warehouse building at number 41. And that consistency is abundantly clear. There can be no kind of misinterpreting that. So essentially the concern that we have is that despite the clarity in these controls and the combination, The council assessment report refers to an averaging of setbacks and chooses a number of selected properties, including number 41, which is the outlier, and then determines that that is how the appropriateness of a setback should be arranged. And we just fundamentally don't understand how that's been determined and why there should be any enforcement shouldn't be any enforcement of that control. Crucially, I guess, when it boils down to it, the sites are orientated east-west. And on east-west facing sites, the setbacks on both sides are fundamental to maintaining the amenity and the sharing and the equity of that amenity. Council have noted that the orientation makes compliance and setbacks imperative and the amenity important. So we just wanted to, I guess, reiterate that point. Fundamentally, coming out of that is a direct and unreasonable result of overshadowing to the principal private open space and the living room windows. Again, the assessment report refers to the fact that the ground floor of the property, which includes a living room to the eastern side, a kitchen at the centre and a dining room on the west, that in some way infers that those living room windows or the principal private open space may somehow receive solar access to the levels compliant. We acknowledge that on that orientation and with the heights of building and topography, there will be some overshadowing. I guess the point we're making is we don't see any reason why there should be additional overshadowing beyond the compliance. I note as well that DCP provision in terms of the main living areas and the principal private open space is not referred to in the assessment report by council. It's a consideration of the issue more broadly. Lastly, looking at the landscaping on the boundary wall, there were some images provided in the original submission. There are a number of significant trees on the adjoining boundary wall, the south wall of number 45. And those trees were a fundamental concern about their health and continuity when the proposal was seeking to remove and replace that boundary wall. We understand that's now being retained, but I guess all we'd flag there is it seemed to be kind of a last minute clarification and commitment, which we agree to. But I guess the concern is that should be enshrined in a condition and that the health and the longevity of those trees should be monitored in the same way as a dilapidation report, which we see council has included. It's understood what's trying to be achieved, but there's got to be some, I guess, enforcement of that. And then lastly, a number of other matters in the various submissions around dilapidation report, dust, hours of construction, excavation methodology on those sort of things. Broadly, we agree. We just ask the panel to make sure that they reconsider that before considering any determination. And the last one is it was touched on by the earlier speaker, just in terms of privacy of the adjoining windows, particularly in relation to the relative levels between the existing floor and the adjoining floor levels on the ground floor, contemplating the height of the boundary fences. A simple solution to that, in our view, would be that anything up to a certain height should be opaque or frosted to prevent any direct overlooking, but it doesn't affect the window opening, the light which may come into those because they're south facing, there'd be no sun. But so broadly speaking, those were the key things in the interest of time, and happy to answer any questions or clarification. And we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone have any questions of Stephen or the previous speaker?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I've got two other submitters that are just noted as observing only. It's Elizabeth Adsett and Robin Tyrell. I understand you're just observing and not submitting today. Is that correct? Thank you. The applicant has some representatives, and there are in fact 4 representatives on behalf of the applicant. And the first I have is Stephen Kerr, town planner. Stephen, you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Thank
I
you.
can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
No, he's there on the boardroom.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Visually challenged.
I'll actually hand over to my colleague, Elise. I'm sure most members of this panel are sick of listening to me. So Elise, who's sitting next to me.
Well done, Peter.
Thank you. So thank you, panel chair and panel, for your time today.
Sorry, would you just identify yourself?
Oh, so Elise Kenny from Guide Consulting.
So you're the second speaker listed today.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, the
So
first speaker.
I'll briefly introduce who from our team's in the meeting. So we have Bernadette Brennan, the applicant for the DA. We have Andrew Zahns up in the corner. So the architect from Smith and Zahns, and then obviously myself and Stephen. We'd just like to thank the council officer for preparing the thorough assessment report. We've reviewed it and agree with the recommendation and conditions. We'd also like to thank the neighbours for voicing their concerns. In response to those concerns, we do acknowledge the site does have some challenges, and the project team's been mindful of these in developing the proposed scheme. We've done everything to minimise potential impacts on adjoining properties, especially in relation to views, overshadowing and privacy. So in this regard, we know that the proposed buildings located below the maximum building height are well below the maximum site coverage control and complies with the setbacks under the DCP. Also note that we modified the plans during the assessment period to further reduce shadows to the south. And we did this by deleting part of the first floor rumpus room. So that's areas shaded yellow on the plans, the area that's been deleted. I'll also just touch on privacy. I know there was a question on, I guess, the treatment of the northern elevation. So the windows are generally located, so on the northern elevation, they're generally located below the large northern boundary wall, with the exception of the living room window, which is located above, and that's proposed to be screened. So there won't be any potential for overlooking on the northern elevation. So in my opinion, the officer's recommendation is sound, and our team are available to answer any questions that the panel has.
Thank you. Andrew
What about the
Zahns?
stairwell?
Sorry, Robin, can you please?
Sorry, I was just saying, what about the
I
stairwell?
heard what you said. Can you just
sorry.
please withhold your questions? Could I ask Andrew Zahns, are you saying something to us today? We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Chairperson and panel members. I'm really here just to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay.
So.
And would you like to answer Robin's question about the stairwell?
When you say in terms of the stairwell, in terms of in what respect, sorry, Chairperson, in terms of the privacy or in terms of the,
In terms of the privacy element that the submitter was concerned about.
Yeah, I think the concern is with privacy, Andrew, but again, that's one of the windows which is below the height of the wall at the rear of the properties on Union Street.
Right.
Okay.
That's,
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. You have anything else you'd like to say? Does the panel have any questions of the architect?
Just one question.
No?
So the profile of the solar panels above the height of the roof,
Yes.
what is that additional thickness?
We propose, and we were happy to condition that they'll just be set flat against the slope of the roof. There is no intention to increase the height of it to create more angle or height to have more impact. So we're very happy to have a condition to say that it will be consistent with the height, the slope of the roof, and will be the thickness of the panels that come.
The question was specifically on the height of the panels that you have specified.
I would have to confirm the height of that to you, but it would be, we won't be changing the height or an angle to make the height any higher. And the actual height of the solar panel, I would have to check on the manufacturer's specifications on the overall height, but they're not extensive in terms of height, in terms of those panels there, particularly if they're laid flat with the slope. But I can't give you a definitive answer on the height of those panels.
And on page of your DA package, DA A010, which is the roof site plan.
Yes.
you show the eave of the roof profile having a setback towards the front. What is the eave distance from the edge of the wall along the 1.5 meter setback?
Okay. So that you're saying the eave, you're talking about the projection, are you talking about from on the northern side, is that correct? So along the long
Yes.
boundary?
And there's one that follows the 1.5 meter setback, and then there's
Yes.
another one that follows the 2.5 meter setback. What are the projections of the eaves at those points?
Sure. That's actually, I'll just show you in section. It's actually the gutter that's being shown there. So the only extension is the gutter itself, which would be a maximum of 200 mil, but could be as little as 150 mil projection.
Any other questions? Yeah. Ben?
I would like one.
Are the applicants finished their submission?
Yes, thank you.
Can I just say to Robin, we've had a look at a series of photographs that have been presented today. So we thank you for holding that up.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was just this one when. that gentleman-
Sorry, can I just ask you to
Sorry.
control yourself?
Yes.
We've got your comments and
Yeah,
we'll take them into account when we decide
yes.
the matter shortly. So thank you very much.
Perhaps,
Thank
sorry, Chair, perhaps the architect Andrew might be able to comment on the concerns about the windows on the northern elevation.
Yes.
Andrew, are you?
Yes, thank you,
Thanks.
Ms. Merrill. We don't really have much concern with providing privacy to those windows up to a certain height. Certainly where we're below the fence height, we don't believe there is any overlooking. We do have, though, very clearly shown in our drawings to the main living space, a screen that runs the full length of that window facing north and facing that side boundary. So we're very happy to have conditions of consent just to determine the exact detailing of those screens. But we believe that does provide sufficient privacy between the two dwellings.
Thank you.
And with respect to the stairwell,
I apologize for not understanding the question on the stairwell. Are you referring to the large stairwell that goes to the rear of the rear yard? Is that correct? The first floor. I'm just trying to understand the.
yes, what the one that we had up there on that plan, the elevation is that?
Andrew, it's the north elevation.
Yes.
To the rear, it's the vertically proportioned window, STLW. There's no number on it.
STLW. Are we referring to the, sorry about this, are we referring to the privacy concern with that staircase? Is that correct, or?
Yeah, how does it relate to the ground level, to the neighbour?
Oh, to the neighbour. I'm just checking about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was, I thought it was below the neighbour. I'm just checking.
So the plans show the height of the boundary wall. There's a dotted line. I don't know whether it's
not right.
shown on your reproduction.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to understand, trying to see a drawing which shows that connection between the two.
So drawing 203.
203. It just shows it from the other direction, so it doesn't show the height of the structure behind. Oh, we do see the wall. What I thought was the wall profile was shown on that drawing, outlined at northern boundary wall. So there you go. Sorry. Yeah. So thank you, Stephen. So drawing A203 on our does show that the wall in question is significantly higher along that zone, and the stair is actually well below that wall height. So if you refer to drawing A203, which is the northern elevation, on a dashed line, it talks about the outline of northern boundary wall in foreground, which is actually, the staircase is well below that proposal, that line, I should say.
Or is that line the privacy screen or is it the wall?
At the northern boundary wall in the foreground.
Okay, thank you.
It's not right.
Jan,
This is, it's up, isn't it up? Isn't this the line? It's
That line of the wall.
oh, the line on the northern wall.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so in fact, it's only the upper portion of the stairwell.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
any other questions?
The part that has the light in it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, submitters. Thank you, applicants.
Mr. Chair, I do apologise if I may. Is it possible just to clarify any position on the setbacks and the overshadowing, just in relation to the discussion? I understand if the panel takes that on notice, that's okay, but just thought in the context of the discussion.
It's not a debate.
We'll take that on board and we'll look at it when we go into closed session. And so thank you for your comments. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item if we may.
Pathetic.
And
Thank you.
thank you all for your comments. Item 2 is 54 High Street, North Sydney.
It's a waste of time.
And we have a Mike Condon. Mike, are you there?
Oh,
My comments there, yeah.
we can't hear you, sorry.
Mike, you might need to turn your mic on.
Yeah, the mic's not turned on. His mic's not turned on. Yeah, you'll need to turn your mic on.
Not sure if he has one.
No, I don't think he does. No,
Can you hear me, Mike? I don't think he's got any audio.
he hasn't got any audio, it looks like.
Nadine Keith, are you there?
No, like,
I see Dean, but, or Diane, sorry, but it does have the mute.
no, Nadine's not there.
Nadine's not there. Mike Condon's lacking in sound.
No, we still can't hear you, Mike.
Mike, last chance. Can you hear me?
He hasn't got any audio at all.
I'll move then to the applicant. I've got James Lovell. You there, James?
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, I am.
Would you like to address the panel?
Yes, look, I thank you for the opportunity, firstly, to address you. I'm a consultant town planner who's been assisting the applicant, Mr. Georgie, during the process of this application. We principally, and I've got Mr. Georgie with me if needed, but the principal purpose of us attending this meeting is just to indicate that we're happy with the council officer's assessment report. We've been through that carefully and we've been through a process of addressing issues as they arose during the assessment process. And we're happy with the recommendation and the conditions that are attached to that recommendation. And otherwise, we're available to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll just see if there's any questions of the panel.
Mike's now got audio.
Yes.
I'll come back to it. Any questions of the applicant before I go back to Mike from the panel?
Just one question, Mr. Chair. In the report, we are made aware that the application proposes the use of a previously approved communal utility room on the roof level, now into a use that is residential. So those communal utility rooms, are they being displaced? How are they being supplemented or replaced, if you like, for the use of the overall residents?
Yeah, so just to clarify that, those facilities haven't been here since at least 1982. So the building was approved in 1961, and then exclusive use was granted to the rooftop terrace area in 1974. And then since at least 1982, the property has been used for residential purposes. So it's not displacing anything that hasn't been here for more than 40 years.
Anything else?
That's all from me, thank you.
Thank you. Can we come back then to Mike Condon? Mike, can you hear us now? Thanks, James. Mike Condon, have you had any joy with your audio?
We still can't hear him.
I'm sorry, we still can't hear you. And Nardine Keith,
No.
we haven't got Nardine. I'm sorry, Mike, we're going to have to move on to the next item.
Can we
Oh.
just,
Oh, here we go.
oh, here we go. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we
Yeah.
can. Well done.
Okay, I can't hear you very well, but we'll try.
We can hear you. That's the main thing.
Okay, so yeah, I had technical problems getting in, but I'm here now. So I haven't been party to the discussion to date, but you've received my letter of objection. I presume other owners and residents in the building have sent similar ones.
Yes, we have. Can you just tell the panel what you'd like to present today, please?
I'm just trying to get the volume up here a bit.
Just be brief. We've read your other submission. Thank you.
Yeah, just hold on a second. So what we're trying to point out is that there's been a exclusive use of the rooftop since the original developer put a bylaw in place giving him access exclusively to the roof, and he used it as an office without any approval from council for a change of use. And I think there's been two subsequent owners, Mr. Perry and the current owner, Joseph Georgie, who, because the roof is a bit hard to access, have made renovations and alterations to the building that have severely impacted the maintenance of the building, that effectively we've been locked out of our common property. And it's become so problematic that matters have been raised in NCAT to multiple breach orders, and the current occupant George has even assaulted me outside the building in a long-going process of preventing access to the roof and interference with his use of the exclusive space on the roof itself. But we've had a contract up there doing repairs to the waterproofing, which to some extent were caused by unapproved works damaging the membrane. And we're a bit fearful that the same situation will happen if the continuing use as a exclusive use. It's never been approved as a residence at all. It's originally approved as a laundry space on top of the building, as a lot of buildings in the area. It's clearly a brick structure that's sitting on top of a concrete slab, never designed as a floor slab. And we've just demolished a couple of additions that were added to the roof without authority, which were a very primitive lean-to glass structure and some paving, which I think Mr. Georgie is about in the process of reinstating without approval. And we've still got a contractor up there fixing a lot of the poorly constructed modifications that have been done over the years. So I think it's a case of out of sight, out of mind. I'm aware of similar buildings in Sydney having these issues where occupiers of the roof have taken it upon themselves that it's their own property, notwithstanding any obligations to the owners' corporation and the requirement to maintain the building. My background's initially in architecture and building management, and I'm very concerned that any residential use of the roof would severely compromise our ability to look after the building.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
I just phoned Nadine. She won't be speaking, but she's just sent in a written submission.
Okay, thank you. We'll take account of your comments later on when we decide this matter. So thank you for presenting. I'm pleased that we got to you eventually.